Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today, we've pulled together a really fascinating stack of sources for you. We've got articles, research papers, some pretty compelling firsthand accounts.
All of them focused on one big idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Neurological resilience and, the science of what some people call intentional happiness.
Right.
We're really going to get into how our brains react to stress, and this is the important part, how we can stop our own minds from, joining the attack when life punches you in the gut.
Yeah, and I think our mission here is to move past the motivational posters and really uncover the actual neuroscience.
Yeah.
This isn't just about hoping for the best.
Yeah.
It's about strategic mental rewiring. We're looking at the data that shows you can actually train your brain to react constructively even when everything feels like, chaos.
Okay, so let's unpack that initial problem because the sources lay this out so well, and I think it's something everyone recognizes. This universal pattern. External stress hits. You lose your job, there's a medical crisis, whatever it is, and your mind, it doesn't just cope, it actually makes it worse.
It's that spiral effect. That's what they all call it.
Yeah.
You've got this one genuine problem, this external stressor, but then suddenly your brain starts finding flaws in everything.
Everything else, yeah.
You start finding all this evidence that your job was never good enough, or your body's failing, your relationship's a mess, your future's doomed. It starts collecting evidence that your entire life is broken.
It's amazing how fast that happens. It's like your life is this, little teeny tiny house of cards.
Right.
And one flick, one piece of bad news, and the whole thing just collapses. Internally.
And that's the core argument here, that we've got it all backwards. Happiness isn't something that happens after the pain is gone.
It's what you practice during it.
Exactly. Because if you let that initial negative programming run, your brain becomes what one source called a magnet for misery, which is such a vivid phrase.
It is, because it defaults to the most familiar pattern, which for most of us is catastrophe.
So that brings up the big question right away, doesn't it? If you've spent, say, decades with this kind of negative wiring.
Yeah.
Is that it? Are you stuck?
Is it reversible?
That's the beautiful part of the science we've gathered. We're talking about real neurological resilience. The goal is to show, scientifically, that you can train your brain to find just a sliver of good, even when your whole life feels like it's on fire.
And that's a really important distinction, isn't it? This isn't toxic positivity.
Oh, not at all.
We're not saying, hey, the house isn't on fire. We're saying, okay, the house is on fire. I see the fire.
Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it, but also internalize the truth that, within every hard thing, there is something good, even if it's just a lesson.
Precisely. It's about changing your response so you can be a better thinker, a better learner, and ultimately, be better equipped to get yourself out of that fire.
Okay, let's get into the hard science, because this is where a lot of that skepticism just melts away. You hear that phrase, happiness is a choice, and it just sounds like a feel-good slogan.
It sounds so simple. Too simple.
But the sources are so clear on this. This isn't philosophy. This is measurable physical neuroscience.
The central fact is that your brain is always, and I mean always, rewiring itself. It's not a fixed thing. It's this dynamic process of building and strengthening pathways, whether you mean to or not.
And the mechanism for this is, it's foundational. It's Hebb's law.
Neurons that fire together wire together.
That's it.
And that simple phrase is basically the blueprint for everything we're talking about. Every time you consciously decide, okay, I'm going to look for something good, or I'm going to find a lesson here.
You're firing a specific set of neurons.
You are. And when you do that over and over, you physically strengthen the part of your brain that's responsible for positive pattern recognition.
But the flip side is just as powerful, right? The accidental wiring. Every time you complain or you catastrophize,
you're deepening the negative pathways. You're strengthening the wiring for negative pattern recognition.
You just get better at being miserable.
Think about that classic example. The person who's always negative, they win the lottery, and what's the first thing they say?
Oh, the taxes are going to be a nightmare.
Exactly. Do you know how much I'll have to pay in taxes? They are so practiced at finding the bad that even this huge positive event gets processed through that negative filter. Their brain is literally optimized for finding problems.
So they've accidentally wired themselves for that. So let's talk about the intentional practice. When we do things like gratitude or reframing, what's actually happening in the brain physically?
Yeah. Okay, so when you practice this stuff, especially when you're stressed and you really don't feel like it, you are physically upgrading 3 key neurological systems.
Let's break those down. What's the first shift?
First, you are strengthening your prefrontal cortex. The PFC, this is like the brain's CEO. It handles executive function, decision-making, optimism.
So it's the part that's in conscious control.
Right. And the stronger your PFC, the better you are at overriding all these knee-jerk fear responses.
You're giving the CEO more muscle. Okay, so what about the panic button? The amygdala.
That's the second shift. You're actually soothing the amygdala. The amygdala is your brain's alarm system, right? It's threat detection, fight or flight.
And when you're stressed, it's just screaming.
It's screaming. But consistent positive practice actually lowers its baseline activity. It turns the volume down. You don't stop feeling fear, but you stop being run by fear.
That sounds incredible, just to have the alarm work but not be deafening. Okay, and the third piece?
You build more dopamine receptors. And dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it's crucial for motivation.
Ah.
By practicing this, you're teaching your brain to seek out and reward constructive thoughts. You're basically making the search for solutions chemically rewarding instead of wallowing in the problem.
So if you stick with it, you are literally upgrading the hardware for optimism, dialing down the panic button, and making yourself more motivated for positive action.
And eventually that becomes the new default. That's the end goal.
Yeah.
You stop having to try so hard to find the good. Your brain just does it automatically.
Which is the perfect segue into this idea of reframing. This is where it gets really practical. The sources talk about this huge mental shift from feeling like things are happening to you
That classic victim mentality.
to believing that everything is happening for you.
That one word change, that preposition, it's everything.
Yeah.
If things happen to you, you're passive.
You
have no power.
You're just a victim of circumstance.
But if they happen for you, then every single setback, every challenge is serving a purpose. It's there to teach you something, to help you grow, to make you better.
And the sources really emphasize this can't just be a phrase you say. You have to believe it down to your core, like with all 40 trillion of your cells.
That conviction is what fuels the rewiring. And it lets us move from just anecdotes to the actual research. We have 3 big studies here that really nail this down.
Okay, let's start with that fMRI study from Indiana University.
Right, so they had people do an intensive gratitude practice, and they tracked their brains with fMRI scans.
So you can see which parts of the brain are lighting up.
Exactly. And they saw that the people practicing gratitude had much higher activity in the medial prefrontal cortex.
Which we just said is linked to learning and decision-making.
Exactly. So that's proof of what's happening during the practice.
Yeah.
But here's the amazing part. The follow-up.
This is the part that got me.
They tested them again 6 months later, long after the study was over. And those positive rewiring effects, they were still there, still measurable.
Wow. So the change stuck. It wasn't temporary.
It became their new default. The structural change lasted. That's proof of automaticity.
The path is built. Okay, what about Dr. Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology?
So Sullivan's work showed a direct link between this kind of mental practice and how fast people recover from things. People who practice what he called optimistic reframing.
So consciously looking for the upside in a bad situation.
Right. They recovered much faster from major setbacks, and they had lower rates of depression over time. They didn't deny the problem. They just had a better, faster, more well-worn path out of the despair.
So it's not just about feeling good. It's about being more resilient for the next time something goes wrong.
Which it will.
And finally, that great little nugget from Harvard's Dr. Sean Aker.
I love this one because it's so actionable. Aker's work basically found the minimum effective dose for this stuff.
Just 5 minutes a day.
5 minutes a day of positive journaling, just writing down, 3 things you're grateful for, that's it. And it's significantly increased happiness scores.
And here's the chemical proof. It lowered levels of the stress hormone cortisol.
And cortisol is the fuel for that fight or flight response. It keeps you anxious. So you're talking about reducing the physical stress on your body with a simple 5-minute mental exercise.
When you put all that research together, it's undeniable. Change happens with small, consistent, intentional effort.
Which brings us right to the biggest hurdle, right?
It's
consistency. Because this doesn't happen overnight. And you're fighting against millennia of brain evolution.
We have to talk about the brain's built-in negativity bias.
It's a protection mechanism. It's designed to look for danger, to collect evidence that things are going wrong. Because, back in the day, that's what kept you from being eaten by a tiger.
Right. It kept us alive. But now it just keeps us stuck.
It keeps us in that fear and victim loop.
And the sources have that great analogy for why consistency is so tough. The brain as a giant cornfield.
I love that analogy. If you've been negative for 20 years, that negative pathway is a 6-lane highway. Paved, clear, easy. It takes zero effort to go down that road.
But the first time you try to choose a new thought, a positive one on a really bad day, it feels almost impossible.
It's like trying to walk a brand new path through that tall, thick corn. It's hard. You can barely see where you're going.
But the 10th time you do it, the corn is a little bent.
The 100th time, there's a little track there. And over time, that repetition turns the track into a road. And pretty soon, that new road is the one your brain takes automatically.
Without you even having to think about it.
And all the while, your subconscious is listening. If you're always telling yourself, I'm stuck, I always fail, it just collects that as evidence and makes it your truth. This is self-fulfilling prophecy.
So, knowing all this, knowing the bias is there, how do we actually start pushing down that new hard path when we're in a real crisis?
Well, you have to stop waiting to feel happy. You have to push yourself. You have to stop feeding the victim story and actively look for the lesson. And there's a really clear 3-step process for this.
Okay, what's step 1?
Acknowledge. This is critical. You don't deny the pain. You don't, as one source put it, spray perfume on a turd.
Right. You have to be real about it.
You have to say, wow, this is really hard. This hurts. You acknowledge the reality of the situation. You just don't set up camp there.
Okay, so you own the reality, but you don't live in it. Step 2 is breathe and anchor.
Yes. When your emotions are high, your logic is low. That's just physiology. Your amygdala is running the show.
The alarm is blaring. Blaring. So you need to take 2 minutes, maybe 10, if it's a huge crisis, and just breathe. Focus on your breath. That's you physically hitting the pause button on the panic system, and it gives the PFC, the rational brain, a chance to come back online.
You calm the storm, and once you're anchored, then what?
Step 3, reframe and ask. This is the rewiring in action. Instead of the default, this is terrible, my life is over, you ask specific framing questions.
Like what?
You ask, what can this teach me? Or how can this possibly make me stronger? Or even just, what lessons can I pull out of this mess?
And those questions are so powerful. The answers could be big things, like learning to set new boundaries or that you need to ask for help.
Or they could be simple. The answer might just be, the lesson is, I'm still here, I survived that. Just searching for the lesson is the beginning of the growth.
Because asking the question forces your brain to shift its focus from what's wrong to how you can get better. It redirects that whole pattern recognition system.
You're pointing it toward recovery instead of damage assessment. This whole deep dive just keeps coming back to the same powerful idea. You are not the story of your past. You are the narrator.
Yes. You're the one who gets to reframe it, reinterpret it, and rewrite it in a way that serves you going forward.
And when you really get that you're wired for growth, that's when you can push yourself, smile through the tears sometimes and keep finding the gold that's hidden inside the dirt.
And that process, that consistent daily effort, that is what builds a measurably stronger, happier, and more powerful you.
The evidence is just so clear, especially Dr. Aker's research. Just 5 minutes a day can physically reduce stress hormones. So here's the final thought we want to leave you with based on everything we've talked about today. If you commit to just 5 minutes of this, positive journaling, reframing, whatever works for you, what is the smallest possible shift you could make in your daily routine to make it absolutely inevitable? Could you attach it to your morning coffee? Do it right before you brush your teeth. What tiny, immovable commitment would finally turn that faint cornfield path into a solid, reliable road?